In Monterey, the water temperature was 48 degrees Fahrenheit, which is absolutely bone chilling. Like you hit the water and it feels like you're immediately getting brain freeze. And the visibility is like ranges from pretty good, like, 30, 40 feet to like 5 to 10. Just kind of depends on where you are in the dive site. But we saw some really cool cold water species that I haven't seen since Seattle, actually. One of the things that we saw that was really cool was a metridium field, which were these white anemones. It was kind of hard to tell because the viz was so low. We kind of weren't sure whether we were seeing the same rock over and over. But even in the green gloom, these like white anemones just stand out so much. They almost seem like they glow underwater. They're so bright. And then after that, we swim on the surface. It was a long surface swim. Like I want to say half a mile, but I'm not sure. We surface swam over to another dive site, did a second dive on the same tank, and it was completely different. Much better viz, lots of sea life. We didn't see any sea lions on that dive, unfortunately, but lots of fish and lots of really cool invertebrates, which is pretty typical of Monterey. It's got lots of life because there's lots of nutrients in that area, and that cold water brings in a lot of interesting species as well. You contrast that with my dive in LA, where we took a boat to Catalina, and there the water temperature was about mid 60s, which means there's almost a 20-degree difference between those two sites. Only, a couple hours away from each other, or I guess, 8 hours away from each other. But still, it's not that far. And it felt completely different. Like Catalina compared to Monterey felt so tropical and just amazing viz. Like probably some of the best I've seen in California in my life. I think it was like 60-foot viz at some spots. And the life there was also very different. Lots of Garibaldi, lots of kelp bass, lots of like schooling fish. But interestingly, there wasn't as much like invertebrate life. The really clear water, there's less nutrients in the area, and so it kind of feels like a somewhat of a hybrid between like tropical diving and California diving, where you have the kelp forest, but there's not as much life in it. We did see a giant black sea bass though. Didn't get it on video because my camera was off. And the final dive was in Santa Barbara, just doing a couple deep dives off the Spectre. I think Santa Cruz or Anacapa Island, can't remember which one. Pretty strong current, I gotta say. It was pretty scary going down the anchor line and then realizing like that current was almost as strong as we could swim against. But there was also these fields of brittle stars, which was pretty cool. Like the entire ground was just covered in like, I want to say thousands of these sea stars. You literally couldn't see the sand. There were so many brittle stars, and like pick them up and they would all just be like squirming. Um, Not great if you're afraid of squirmy things, but I thought it was really cool. And then the rest of the dive was a pretty interesting mix of drop offs and ledges, but also getting in really close and really shallow, where the viz was good, but it was super surgy. Definitely tried to protect my head from getting knocked on some rocks as we were diving. So to finish everything off, I wanted to do some spearfishing to finish out the spring, and unfortunately, I got COVID, or at least I think I got COVID. Honestly, these rapid tests, I'm not really sure what to what to make of them. They seem pretty unreliable. But I did the quarantine thing. Then I came out of quarantine. I was like, okay, it's time. I'm gonna do some diving. And then I was walking through my apartment, getting my spearfishing stuff ready for the dive ahead, and I just kind of clipped my toe on a suitcase, and then like immediately knew I broke it because I looked at it and it was hanging off at a 20-degree angle. And sure enough, I went into urgent care the next day, and they're like, "Yeah, it's broken." This is actually the third time I've broken this toe in the past 2 years. So at this point, the doctor was like, "It's not unreasonable to consider surgery," but I thought it was unreasonable because it's my left pinky toe. Like no one uses this toe ever, but um, nevertheless, it's like stopping me from diving. I have to stay in a boot for 2 months, and yeah, I'm just beached. Like I can't do anything. But once I come out of this boot, a lot of stuff planned for the summer. Gonna go to Cozumel. Gonna go spearfishing in Santa Barbara. Gonna go to Grand Caymans in October. So there's a lot of things that are upcoming. But for now, just forced to sit here, watch the videos of dives that I've already done, and wait for this goddamn toe to heal. And that's the update for spring 2022.